Okay, let's continue. This is the second video. I believe it's the second one of 3 or 2. I forget how many videos it's going to take. I don't know how many videos it's going to take. I'm just going to go in 15-minute chunks until I'm done. This is the selections set by set for 11 sets, beginning with Dominaria. No, I'm 19 because I need to get those cards for a family of Oketra builds. Okay, and if you hit the playlist and you go up one more, you'll get the intro. All right, so this is a Death and Taxes card. Then, when it deals combat damage to a player or planeswalker, proliferate. I'm not sure I'm going to be able to pull off a really good counters deck, but I know when I go in with Ajani's Primate, at least that card gets counters. So that's why this card is here. Yeah. Tucker, so target creature or planeswalker, temporarily exile it. And when it enters the battlefield, you get to discard one. I like that. Give yourself hexproof. Very good against red strategies. And then create a wall. Yeah, create a wall. And I think you can create the wall twice. Of course, with proliferate, you can give this guy more counters and more loyalty counters, and then you get to do it more. So really the proliferate version of the deck is going to have all the planeswalkers, no matter what. Prevent all non-combat damage, which is not one of my favorite strategies, but it can work, especially in the Death and Taxes build and in the proliferate build. And you can exile target creature with power 4 or greater, and you can do it 2 times before you are able to proliferate. But when you do, then you may be able to do it more than twice. Exile all multicolored permanents. This is very good. Yeah, because you're a mono white, so you want to exile a single thing you control. Yeah. 6/3/3, not that great, but it's got a bunch of abilities. Yeah, it's a good uncommon. Another planeswalker becomes a 4/4 human soldier creature. Yeah, vigilance, lifelink, indestructible. If you can boost it a little, it can survive. You can exile target non-land permanent. I really like this card. Yeah, I bought it as a single. Create a gazillion tokens late game. Huge fan. Not sure how good this would be, but when it attacks, you create 2 4/4 angels, and it's only got a crew 4, and it does fly. It's an 8-drop, but in Commander you can swing that. Card that needs no introduction, the centerpiece of a whole strategy. So I would build a whole deck that just played with this particular strategy. Gain life, get counters. Proliferate, gain more life, gain counters. This card does it. There is an enchantment that also does it. Then everything else would just be good old gain life and good old get counters. I like it a lot. I've played the card a lot. Search your library for up to 2 planeswalker cards. Yeah, this would be in the planeswalker deck. Exile target creature, then proliferate. Yeah, proliferate deck. It would go with Ajani for sure. Ajani's Primate. A tapper. So in the Death and Taxes build, I think I'm going to do one that just focuses on Death and Taxes. Doesn't really care to gain life. Doesn't really care. It does everything else because it needs to win by hitting at some point. But yeah, tapping your opponent's creatures can be a real big downer for them. Yeah, another tapper. Yeah, and if it's an artifact, you can destroy it. And then a flyer, which is a very casual deck. I mean, this is just a casual deck, but it's got these huge, expensive activated abilities, mana abilities, and yeah, other creatures you control get +1/+1 until end of turn. That's not terrible for 6. Okay, now let's go to M20. So I think this is going to be video 2 of 3. Yeah. So enters the battlefield, destroy target non-land permanent and opponent controls. It's a 7/3/3, but I've used it. It's good. Yeah. Then sack it. Choose target permanent card in your graveyard that was put there from the battlefield this turn. Return it to your hand. So you can just put this on the board if you're really worried about something getting whacked. If it does, you whack this and then you return it to your hand. That's nice. Untap another target artifact. I'm not sure it's going to be that useful. Maybe there is a build that really has as many artifacts as possible. Maybe there's like an artifact and enchantment build. Yeah, maybe there is an artifact and enchantment build. Oh, and I forgot to pick the other supporting commanders that would help this commander, because I've got all my commanders in one pile. Because I was just remembering there is another commander that is an artifact, that's an aura and equipment commander. So after this video and before the next one, there'll be another pile added for those. I better remember that. Yeah. Target creature can be blocked this turn. I really like that. That clause in itself can be really, really good. No introduction, you know, lock down the graveyards. In some of the mono white builds, maybe all of them that we do out of Oketra, that's perfectly reasonable to do because you're not reanimating. Okay. And you don't have to play it. I mean, you only have one in the deck, so it's not like every single game that you play you're gonna have to think about whether it's a good strategy or not. Yeah. Okay. This can actually be very useful. It just sits there when you're in combat. I think this would be very helpful in a weenies deck. Okay, because well, when it leaves, it hits for 5 to any target. That's very good. But really, this is really good for tight battles where and you can do it any time. So you can do it any time. So this will make your opponent think twice. Because you can always ping one of those creatures for 1. Yeah, I like this card. I've never really used it, but I think it can lead to creative strategies, definitely. In Commander, this could actually be pulled off, okay, because it's got an equip 8, and it's a big hammer. It's a big freaking hammer. Yeah, I pulled a bunch of these. I pulled a foil. I don't know where I have it. Maybe I put it in the Ravnica cube. Okay, protection from black, that ain't bad. Exile target card from a graveyard. That's part of a good strategy. If your opponent is trying to use the graveyard for something, you can just and you can do it for 2, so you can do it infinitely many times as long as you have the mana. And it's colorless, but it doesn't matter. You're on white here. You're on white only. So, anyways, double striker. Yeah, you know, Oketra has double strike. I believe there's one card in there. Oh yeah, there's one card in the pile of the guy with the African name, but I think he makes double strikers out of first striker, so it wouldn't help for these. But it's a double striker. If you've got a weapon, I mean, if you go for the equipment version of the build, boy, I mean, you know, it loses flying, but it never had it anyways. Who cares? Yeah, I can dig that. The Loxodon also, I think, could be a really good effect. You may have your life total become the total toughness of creatures you control. Now, that can be a gigantic butt if you're at 20 life and it's Commander. You can be at 20 life when you cast this. And if you're in the life game deck, you most definitely will be at least at 20 life, I would expect. And then it's got the big claws, the 6-drop. Gets +X until end of turn, or X is your life total. Yeah. It doesn't fly, but boy, that's a big critter. It can be, at least. Put target creature with power 4 or greater on the bottom of its owner's library. In the case of Commander, they would have to go and fetch it with a tutor, because boy, this could go very deep. Then the Leyline, you're never going to get it in your opening deck in a Commander deck, so it doesn't really matter. But you have Hexproof. Yeah, you can go for that. Then each player can't cast more than one spell each turn. This is for your Death and Taxes variant. I'm not sure that it would make the final build because it would hurt you. But you're on mono white and you're not drawing a gazillion cards. So actually, depending on when you drop this, it could be something that you put in every single deck. Big Angel, for 4, put a +1/+1 counter on another target creature with flying. This would be for the build that has lots of angels and lots of flyers. Maybe it's the final build. Protect something during battle. Very good card for 1. Yeah. For the life gain deck, yeah, it becomes a 4/4. It becomes a 3/4/4 flyer when you have 25 or more life. In Commander, that's going to happen all the time. I don't particularly like this card in Constructed, but I think maybe in Commander it can be good. We're mono white, so the fact that it's 2 white doesn't really matter, which is great. And this could be a really good critter for your Angels deck where you have a bunch of flyers. When somebody whacks one of your Angels, you can create a 1/1 flying token. That's fine. That's good. Then another Angel. Other creatures you control have Vigilance. Vigilance is grossly underrated. I mean, I hate it when I fight against a Vigilance strategy because it's like, man, I want this person's critters to tap, and they just don't. Yeah. A board wipe. You're probably going to need board wipes. Drop tokens. Give something flying, especially for your white weenies, and you draw a card. I really like this card. Lifelink on one of your small critters. It can't hurt. A tapper for life. Not a tapper. You gain 1 life. This goes hand in hand with our friend Ajani's Primate. And then a pacifism. The pacifism. Alright, so that was, how many cards did I pull out of M20? I think it was 22. Okay, so I think we're up to like 60 cards already. Yeah. Alright, so let's do Throne of Eldraine. And then maybe in the last video I'll do 5 sets. I'm not sure. I'm going to try to swing. I picked a lot of Theros because, of course, mono white. Okay. For the counters deck, this is fantastic because you drop it. It's got counters. When you type it, you drop. If you want to proliferate, you only need 1 counter on a given creature. So this will allow you to put counters on 3 different creatures so you can proliferate on them. Very good card. Oh, how many cards do I have from Throne? 4, 8, 12, 16, 19. Players in Arena can't wait for Throne to rotate out because it's such an overpowered set. It's just dominating Standard. It really dominates Standard. It's a great set. If I have money and I can find a booster box later in the year, I'll probably try to get one. It's been on my to-do list with the little money that I don't have. Tap it, add 1 mana. That's okay for 3. The bigger one is tap target creature for 5. That can be really good in your Death and Taxes deck. This guy is great. This guy is just great. Variable, PT, and it's protected from multicolored. Yeah, and it's got reach. Yeah, this guy is really good. Every time he comes in Standard, I just whack it as soon as I can. Enters the battlefield. If you use 3 mana of the same color, you will. You're going to draw a card. So every single time with this guy, when it enters, you're going to draw a card. Nice. This guy is great if you go for the equipment deck where you're an Auras, where you're making your critters bigger. You can pay 1 and it cannot be blocked this turn except by creatures with haste. You can walk it and gain 3 life. It helps you with Ajani's Primate. Yeah, it's a very versatile card. I love it. I think it's great. A Tucker. Target creature an opponent controls with converted mana cost 3 or less. It may be one of the ones that don't make any builds because in Commander that's not that great. But it still can take out a weenie. For the deck that has a lot of artifacts and enchantments, this thing can make something very, very big. Yeah, great card. Then counters. Put a bunch of counters on creatures you control. Very useful, I think, for 4. Yeah, and it gives them vigilance if you cast it with only white mana, which you will. So you're always going to get that. A classic for a battle trick. Make it really big. Whenever a white creature you control attacks, you gain 1 life. Great with Ajani. You're mono white. This is perfectly fine. I see this card going in just about every deck that I could think of. Another Death and Taxes card is a flyer. It's got lifelink. Creatures entering the battlefield or dying don't cost abilities to trigger. It'll limit you, and that's the issue with the Death and Taxes build. That you say, okay, I'm going to limit my opponents to all these different things, but often those cards, almost always, are limiting you as well. So you have to be careful, but yeah. And of course, the artwork is just fascinating. Okay, so then each player can cast more than 1 non-creature spell each turn. Death and Taxes, old school. Return target permanent you control as an instant for 1 to its owner's hand. So you're going to protect something that's about to get whacked. Otherwise, it's a 2/3/1. That's not bad. Same thing here as a sorcery for 2. Target creature gains +2/+1 and gains flying for your. If you have a lot of tokens, this is going to help. And it's a flyer. And then this one, of course, tap. So this is your tapper for your death and taxes, and then it becomes a flyer when you drop it. First strike, and I'm running out of time. I'm going to continue in the next video. I just have a lot of beautiful cards to talk about.